One of the things I bang on about Harry Sheezel, and maybe I do, and what I just want to put this into comparison. So this is a rating system that has been going for 15 years. If Harry finishes the year in the top 10, which on current form he will walk it in, he will become the second youngest player in 15 years to be in the top 10. The youngest?
Dacos?
Marcus Bontempelli.
Ooh, the Bont.
2015. So there's only been two players that have been 20 or under to finish the season in the top 10.
We might be witnessing the AFL's greatest teen phenomenon ever. It's not Nick Dacos, Christian Petrarca, Sam Walsh, or any other of the AFL stars. It's a 19-year-old at Arden Street who has graduated from a possession machine half-back to one of the most damaging forward half weapons. Harry Sheezel is a superstar and he's on record-breaking pace in so many ways, and he's helping North Melbourne turn around their fortunes. But before we compare Sheezel to other AFL players and greats, let's focus on what he has been able to do since his mid-season positional switch up. The official move off the half-back line came in round 8 against St Kilda. However, Sheezel isn't a permanent centre-bounce midfielder like you might think he is. Since round 8, he has attended over 50% of a game's centre bounces just 3 times, mainly sitting in the low 40% range and sometimes in the 20% range. North are using him in a similar mould to Dustin Martin, where he mainly positions himself forward of the ball, but because of his fitness levels, he does get the freedom to roam up the field. It's why for a midfielder, his clearance numbers were a bit low initially, but of late are starting to rise again as he gets used to this new role. His numbers up until round 8 were still very good. His lowest disposal tally was just 26, his disposal efficiency was regularly in the mid-80s, and 5 times he had over 500 metres gained. But it didn't lead to anything. The most score involvements he had in this period of time was 6, and in round 1 he had just 1 score involvement. For his skill level, that's just a waste. Alistair Clarkson held out for 2 months, but has since released the shackles. In round 20 against Geelong, Sheezel had his career best game and the 6th best of any player in 2024. The issue about score involvements evaporated. In fact, Sheezel's 14 against Geelong is part of a new record. North Melbourne themselves scored 16 times with 10 goals and 6 behinds, meaning Sheezel was involved in 87% of the team's score, the highest percentage Champion Data has ever recorded. 25 of his 36 touches were contested, by far a career high, and he had 16 ground ball gets and 6 intercepts. He literally did everything. Since moving into a midfield forward role, all his numbers have boomed besides average disposals per game. Since round 8, he's averaged 4.3 clearances, 11.5 contested possessions per game, and 5.6 score involvements per game. These numbers are monumentally greater than when he was in defence. Up until round 8, he'd also kicked just 1 goal on the year, and in the last 12 weeks has kicked 11. And remember, these raw numbers are still being achieved playing forward a good amount of the time. As a full-time midfielder, they would be even better. So with all these raw numbers, is Sheezel the greatest teenage AFL player ever? I think he might be. It does help that his birthday is October 13th, roughly 3 weeks after the season is finished. For a player like Nick Dacos, who was born on the 3rd of January, it obviously means he only had 1 year in the AFL as a teenager. So there is a bit of a quirk with this whole discussion. But for the history books, Sheezel is in line for an 86-year first. If he can take home the Kangaroos' best and fairest, he will join Des Fothergill as the only players to win 2 best and fairest before turning 20 years old. Fothergill did it playing for Collingwood in the 1937 and 1938 seasons. That is all-time special. According to AFL.com and Champion Data, Sheezel is also on track to be the first ever player to have a relative rating over 100% in terms of age and position. Now, relative rating is just a comparison between a player's output compared to everyone else their age and in the position they play. Sheezel in both age and position is well over twice as good as he should be. As an 18-19-year-old, there is only one player in the AFL era that can compare with Sheezel. Going through all-time AFL greats numbers when they were teenagers show how advanced Sheezel is. Joel Selwood averaged 19 disposals and kicked 7 goals as a 19-year-old. Nat Fyfe averaged 16 disposals and kicked 14 goals. Lance Franklin kicked 21 goals in 20 games. And Adam Goodes averaged 13 touches, 9 hitouts and kicked 19 total goals. These are some of the better raw stats seen from teenagers. Sheezel is just so far ahead. Going through star players and looking at the player rating system used from 2010 onwards, Marcus Bontempelli is the only other one close. Like Sheezel, his November 24th birthday helps in this debate, allowing him to be 19 for his entire second year. In 2015, Bontempelli had a 17.15 player rating compared to Sheezel's current rating of 15.52. For qualified players in 2015, Bontempelli was the 4th ranked player in the competition. Sheezel is currently 17th. The Bont averaged 21.1 disposals per game, kicked 17 total goals, averaged 5 clearances and 6.2 score involvements per game. Sheezel, albeit with 4 games left at the time of making this, is averaging 29.8 disposals per game, chipped in with 12 goals, and averaged 3.3 clearances and 4.8 score involvements per game. You can see how similar the numbers are, and as great as Bont was at 19, I think Sheezel might be ahead of him, and that really means there's no more competition for him to beat. The 19-year-old has already been mentioned as a future captain of North Melbourne. It might not be next year or the year after, but it's nearly impossible to see a future where he isn't the sole leader of the club. You can argue he is already the face of it and is their best player.
Like to captain North one day?
I think so. I'm not too sure 100%. I am very... I do enjoy the leadership space. I think I'm growing so much in that space this year and learning so much each week, and especially we're struggling at the moment, and I think I'm learning so much because of that, and all of us are learning so much because of that, and I think it's setting us up for when we are successful and when we deal with adversity down the line that we're going to be so well prepared for that.
He speaks well beyond his age and clearly wants the responsibility in the future of being one of just 18 AFL club leaders. North Melbourne is clearly getting him ready for the role, as this year he was added to the leadership group in just his 2nd season. Sheezel is the generational player and leader North Melbourne needed. He hasn't done it all by himself, but his evolution this year has coincided with the Kangas improving pretty quickly. They are competitive, and although have holes on the field, are building a good core of players, especially around the ball. Their pressure is also right up there with the best AFL teams. It's always a risk putting such pressure and hope in a 19-year-old, but with Sheezel, there is none of this whatsoever. He is a true professional and a humble character, alongside being one of, if not the greatest teenager in the AFL era.